What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of Back Your Play. Rich Quinones here at Rich Q on Q, the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q, BYP. You can hashtag it. There he is. The brother from another. Now, we always argue who's better good look, who's much better good looking, right? But I don't know right now. My man, Lake Lewis, we've been doing this. We've been rapping for, oh my God, it's almost 15, well over 15 years. WOAY TV, ABC affiliate. Sports Journey covers Washington. You want to talk about one of the preeminent NFL insiders, team insiders? It's this man right here. I remember him when he had no facial hair. What's going on?
I remember when you had no facial hair.
I got to grow. I got the little looks like Carlito's Way, little Carlito Brigante from little Al Pacino. Yeah, why not?
Nice. Keep it going, man. I like it. Not too many people can grow facial hair, so we gotta rub it in their face a little bit.
And gifted up here as well. Now it's great to touch base again, pal. I know it's been a long time. I always appreciate you making a couple moments for me, and it's just been fantastic watching your career arc and the progressions that you've made. And I can't wait to see what you got rolling on down the road, but I know you're killing it down there. I know you're killing it with Washington. You're that guy, that insider, that entrusted voice. So let's kind of start there, right? We got DC, we got the Giants, we got Washington Sunday night after an ugly friggin' tie in which the Giants probably should have won. Giants are going that way, Washington's going up. Did you see this coming, though, entering the season? Because the expectation was that Carson Wentz was going to be the starting quarterback. They make the change now to Heineke. Rivera was on the hot seat, and now it's like pushing all the right buttons, and that team's red hot. But did you kind of see this coming before the season started?
To be honest with you, Q, I thought they were going to be doing this with Carson Wentz. I really did. I thought that he was going to be able to, with his arm, open up the offense. And they have playmakers on the outside with Terry McLaurin, John Dotson, Curtis Samuel. You just needed somebody that could put the ball out there. Ironically, I think they've just rallied around Taylor Heineke, and it's been like that for the last 2 years. You can go back to the Buccaneer game, 3 years ago.
That's right.
In the playoff game, you could just see the guys played for him a little differently than they did Carson. Not to question Carson's leadership skills, but that's one thing that jumps off the charts with Taylor is he has leadership skills. He just doesn't have a whole lot of, physical attributes, so to speak. So, they're just grinding it out now, gutting games out. I don't know if I would say I expected them to be this hot. I expected them to be a consistent team. But right now, they're a team that, between them and, say, like a Detroit, those are the teams you don't want to sneak into the playoffs because they're physical and they have really good defenses.
It's a great point you bring up, too, because the Lions were 1-6, they're 5-1 since, and now they're buying into their head coach. Jared Goff quietly putting together some really nice numbers. It's just, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Carson Wentz tears up his knee. Philly, the Eagles, Foles wins. Boom, they jettison him out with Hurts. He goes to Indianapolis. That's a debacle. And then you think, okay, you got your franchise quarterback, or at least a bridge. That's not the case. You mentioned the players kind of rally around Heineke. I said this earlier in the year, and you're very close to the team, as everyone knows. I was waiting. How come Ron Rivera never gets on that hot seat, so to speak, right? And then maybe I spoke or tweeted too soon because now it looks like this is maybe one of his best coaching jobs. Has he kind of acquired a little more equity with the franchise going forward? Because I thought if this was going to go south late, then they were going to make a head coaching change either during the season or after the season.
Yeah, I think that the issue with the fan base wasn't so much directed at Ron Rivera from a coaching standpoint. I think it was from a decision-making standpoint as far as who his coordinators were. And I still think people are a little, they're not sold just yet on Scott Turner, They're still, they see Jack Del Rio and what he's doing with the defense, but people are still saying, well, this should have been happening 3 years ago. So it's just to see how this thing plays out. As you get your hopes up for your team and the wheels fall off. I don't think that's going to be the case, down the stretch. I mean, they have 4 games left. 2 games are going to be really tough. Obviously, they play this week against the Giants. That's not an easy game, but it's a winnable football game. They proved that last week. or 2 weeks ago. But they travel to San Francisco next week. That's going to be a tough game, and people have to understand Kyle Shanahan does not like Washington. Let's just call it like it is. I remember when
Great
Kyle
point.
was there, it's my guy. He didn't like the way his father was handled, or himself for that matter. So that's always a target game, so to speak. Then you have Cleveland, winnable football game. But then you flip that over and you finish with the Cowboys.
Yep.
Tough game. So I think if Washington can split, I think they have a chance to be in the playoffs, can legitimately be in the playoffs, but it's going to be tough to do that.
It's a really good point with the schedule too, because think about it. You saw the Giants on the 4th, you get to bye, you see them again, flex game on Sunday night. And then you mentioned San Francisco taking on Seattle tonight in Seattle. So you get that longer a break, if you will, if you're the 49ers, where in essence, Washington's got to go across the country. That's a tough spot. We see what San Francisco is doing, even with the Debo loss and Purdy and the young kid in the defense. I think they're championship made to make a run into the playoffs when the time comes. I look at this matchup on Sunday night, and I just thought the Giants were just poor tackling the first time around. They really had no players in the secondary. The McKinney loss, the Adoree Jackson loss is huge. Both could have been avoided. It happens. I think where the Giants are going to be tailor-made for Washington, so to speak, is the fact that Saquon's not healthy. I know he's off the injury report. He should go, but when he had that big game against the Texans, about 35 carries, $152, he did nothing since that game. He really hasn't. I mean, against the Lions, 31st ranked defense, they couldn't run. I'm wondering if the game plan of the Giants is to try to get him going off early on Sunday night and really kind of be judicious with his carries and see if they can kind of open it up. But I think if that's the case and Washington starts shutting down that run, that puts the ball in Daniel Jones's hands. And this is not an indictment on Jones. It's an indictment on the lack of playmakers. So to me, I can see this being another low scoring game where potentially Jones forces the issue and maybe he throws that ill-timed pick.
Yeah.
That's the way I kind of see it unfolding early on, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They're going to have to get Saquon involved heavily if they're going to have a chance to win the game. The problem is Washington's pretty good against the run, especially up the gut. I mean, John Allen and Daron Payne are two of the best tackles. Tandem might be the best in the league, so it's tough to generate anything. So you have to attack on the outsides. Well, guess what? Montez Sweat back, and someone named Chase Young back. So, it's just, it comes at an opportune time for Washington. And I also think that if you're the Giants, Daniel Jones has been a Washington killer. I mean, he's always had big. Yeah, and he played well, 2 weeks ago. So he always has a big game against him with his legs, ironically, and he did it again last 2 weeks ago. So Washington just has to just keep everything in front of him, because as you could tell, in that game, Kenny Galladay drops another pass. He's got the drops. That's what he has. And I was surprised with the Giants when they got rid of Kadarius Toney. I actually really thought that he could be kind of like that difference maker on the outside for them. And it just never worked out. Yeah, he's always hurt. He's hurt again. I mean, it's just, that's just the way it's gone. But you can clearly see that the Giants are devoid of outside threats on the outside. Maybe Beckham gets signed. I don't know.
Look, at this point, I mean, I don't even think that's going to be the case for him for the rest of the season. And who knows what, everyone screams, sign this guy. You have no idea. They went out and they re-signed Landon Collins. He hasn't sniffed the field. He had meaningful snaps against Jacksonville. That's it. He hasn't sniffed the field. So these organizations kind of know what they're doing. Sure. Are you surprised they didn't shut down Chase Young for the entire season?
I actually tweeted out a couple of weeks ago, is it wise for them right now to do that? And, obviously there were some fans that didn't like the tweet. Then there were some fans that approved of the tweet. At the end of the day, he's a difference maker when he's healthy, bottom line. He's a rookie of the year 2 years ago, had a Micah Parsons type impact for Washington. So then you think about the second year, he didn't have, the best year, and then he gets injured. So people kind of remember seeing that as opposed to what he did his rookie year, and obviously what he was doing at Ohio State. So this is a special football player, but his whole game is predicated on burst and speed around that edge. And, you're talking about a knee, and he didn't just, tear his ACL, it was an MCL, ACL, and a meniscus, by the way. So, he had the full gamut on his knee. And, so for him to work his way back in, to answer your question, I'm not surprised, because I think that they wanted to get him some meaningful reps this year, get him some confidence. It just happens to be now those reps and meaningful snaps are going to be in a playoff chase. And I think that's good for the team, because now those meaningful reps are super meaningful.
Yeah.
And if he can get through that, then you think he'll be okay for next year.
Absolutely. Lake Lewis joining us at Lake Lewis, ABC Morning News anchor, executive producer, WOAY, Washington Commanders insider. We all know that. Owner of Sports Journey After Practice podcast. Check it out as well. He does a fantastic job. I'm curious, you look at the NFL right now, and we're seeing what Jalen Hurts is doing in Philadelphia. They look like a complete team. Cincinnati all of a sudden has kind of woken up. Mahomes is doing Mahomes. Herbert's trying to carry the Chargers. And then you look at some of these veteran quarterbacks. I mean, Russell Wilson looks like he's absolutely shot and cooked. That might be a $240 million problem, right? With Bronco ball there in Denver. Rodgers looks ticked off, and Brady looks like he's done as well. I mean, I almost get, and Matt Ryan, let's not forget about him. I mean, it's just really, it's bad spot for him. And I'm not even going to throw Carson Wentz because they don't have the resume. He doesn't have the resume of those guys that I mentioned, but you're starting to kind of see right now, right? The potential changing of the guard in the NFL. Give me that guy that can roam around. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, and I'm sure you guys talk about it down there. I get the sense that fans think that franchise quarterbacks just drop out of the sky, right? It doesn't happen. And I asked you this years ago, and I ask you again, see if your thought or opinion has changed. Are you of the mindset, you know what, hell, we just keep drafting until we hit a guy, or let's have patience, or if we can get a guy in as a bridge for a couple of years? Because I think Washington and Giants are kind of in that spot. They're still trying to figure out what they have under center. So where are you at when you start to talk about the franchise quarterbacks in the NFL?
Well, I don't think Washington has their franchise quarterback on their roster. If they do, if out of the three quarterbacks they have on their roster, who I think is the most talented just from arm strength, ability to read, a defense and make all the throws, he's actually a rookie that hasn't taken a snap, Sam Howell. And Sam Howell is a legitimate prospect. I just don't know if he's their guy. And if I were running the team, and I would literally keep Lamar Jackson in play in the offseason, if the Ravens don't do what they're supposed to do with him. And then you see what you can get with Taylor. I think Taylor's their quarterback right now. Yeah. I think he's the bridge naturally. But I just dream out loud and think of a guy like Caleb Williams. He's from DC. I just think it would be incredible. That guy looks the closest to Patrick Mahomes that I've seen, just as far as his style of play. He's got a big arm, but he's a little bit, just a tad bit more athletic than Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. But obviously, he'll be back at USC. So, if you're watching, he's going to be out of the picture. There's several guys, there's a Bryce Young, coming out, but Washington's going to be in the playoffs. So and the Giants, could be as well. So the thing is, you're not going to be able to draft those type of players. So you just keep building around. And for Washington, there's some holes they still need to fill. Their offensive line's not that good. So they still need to fill some holes there. So I don't think they're going to be in the market to look for a quarterback. And I'm not a big fan of signing free agent quarterbacks, that, once was a guy that people thought could do something. There's a reason why they're out there and they're not behind center as starters. Yeah. You just called out several of those guys that they might be shot at this point in their careers.
It's a little alarming how confident you are in Washington. That's kind of rubbing me the wrong way, but that's okay.
Listen, man, it's a new day coming in Washington. And I think a lot of people are excited about that in itself.
I didn't bring up Georgetown. Trying to get back to 500. Playing much better than they did last year.
So listen, Georgetown's got talent for sure.
I know they do.
It's a new collection of players. It's just a little raggedy.
That was my only out. I had to take a shot. You know that. I love you, but I had to. I got nothing else.
You got to bring up my Penn State boys, though. You got to bring up my Penn State boys. They've got something basketball. They've got something going, man. They do. They really do.
What about St. John's? Already won 10 games.
Hey, listen, St. John's has turned the corner as well. It's just, I think the problem with St. John's is Georgetown. I think the problem with Georgetown a couple years ago with St. John's weren't
Yeah,
there. It just goes hand in hand,
of
you know, and you
course.
can't have Syracuse beat you by 20.
But
That's just not good.
no, you can't. Listen, got about a minute left. I do a little rapid fire with you. These are pretty much yes or no's real quick. I want to wrap a little bit with you with our last minute on these. So I'm just going to fire away at you. Aaron Rodgers, does he retire? Does he come back with the Packers or does he go to another team?
I think he comes back with the Packers. I mean, they're paying him well to do that. Problem is, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to win anything in Green Bay, and I'm going to say it, and I might take some heat for it. I think what you're seeing right now is lack of leadership, and maybe
Okay.
that's the reason why that guy's only got one Super Bowl.
Listen, I don't have a problem with that comment at all, to be honest. Tom Brady, done in Tampa, goes to San Fran next year.
No, I think he's done. I think he's going to retire after the year. And I think somebody needs to talk to him and tell him that it might be time. You have nothing to prove. You're the GOAT. You know, this Buccaneer team isn't making a run in the playoffs. They're just not equipped for it. And you know, I think he hangs it up after this year, you know, and spends some time with his family.
Best back in the league right now.
Oh man, you know, I'm always going to be a big Derrick Henry fan. I just think that with what they don't have around him, he still gets it done. He's a big man. You see that guy in person who played him this year, and he's just a monster. And he looks like a full-fledged tight end, you know, playing tailback. So for me, I'm going to go Derrick Henry right now still.
All right, fill in the blank, one word. The officiating in the NFL is
Atrocious. Abysmal. It's got to improve. I mean, it's no consistency. There's so many, the league, and I've been saying this for years, every training camp, you know, they have us in the media sit with the referees and they bring out new rules that they're going to be calling. Well, the more you add, the more it makes it hard for you to have consistency to call the ones that you had before. How about just sticking to what you had? You don't need to create 50,000 rules each year, because now you see guys getting sacks and they fall on a quarterback and they're getting flagged. I mean, how can you break your fall? I mean, if you're going full speed, you just can't. So it's atrocious.
give me a team in the AFC right now that you think they had their ups and downs that you think can make a serious deep run into the playoffs.
Baltimore Ravens. A lot of people always laugh when I say that.
Contingent on Jackson being healthy?
Yeah, if Jackson comes back healthy, and now you have J.K. Dobbins back. You saw what he did last week. First game back off IR, he had over 100. They're a running football team, and their defense, you know, going out and picking up Roquan Smith is huge for them, and it's turned the tide. So I just think that they're a team, their style of play, they keep things close to the vest. And you know, as long as you have that guy in the center, he can make plays for you. They're going to be a tough out. Trust me.
Any issue, and again, it's rapid fire. Did Deion Sanders sell out Jackson State?
Absolutely not. And I get mad when I hear people say that. He put them on the map. You know, took them to new heights in 2 years. People have to remember Deion Sanders funded that school for a little bit. They can't afford him, and they knew that. And at the end of the day, we're all in the business of getting better. We're all in the business of, you know, it's not even being a mercenary. It's looking out for your family. I mean, if you have a chance to go to something that's, you know, more equipped for you and pays you more, you're going to have, and you get a chance to prove in your craft that you can be one of the best. Why not take an opportunity? I have no problem with Deion Sanders doing that.
All right. And lastly, and Brandon Jacobs and I always argue on this one. I mean, he just is so indifferent. Trading places or coming to America?
Man, that's tough. I'm gonna go Coming to America just because I
can't stand that movie.
Just because I like comedy, and it's one of the funniest movies ever. I will say the second one was terrible, but that's a whole nother story.
I tried to explain that to him. How do you not love sexual chocolate? And I'm a Trading Places guy.
Randy Watson.
That's right.
That boy good.
From East Harlem. Where can everyone follow you on social media platforms? Give a plug before I let you get out of here.
You can check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Lake Lewis Jr., on Twitter at Lake Lewis. You can go to sportsjourney.com. And then also, you know, we've got some stuff coming up down the pipe that you'll be able to see, that you'll be able to watch. So just check out the social media stuff, and you'll be able to see the announcements and things like that. But it's got a lot to do with the team, so we're excited about it.
Well, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I foresee it. I'm trying to will it. You and I down south somewhere doing a show.
Absolutely, man.
It's going to
Miami,
happen.
that'd be
There's no-
great.
yeah,
Get
don't
back
get
there.
don't get too big time yet. You know what I'm
Nah, man,
saying?
never that. It's just work, man. We stay the same, stay humble,
That's all we
know
can
you're
do.
blessed, and you just
That's
keep
it.
pushing, man. That's all it boils down to.
Hey man, I always appreciate you. I miss you. I'm glad I got you on for a couple of minutes, Jay. Thanks for jumping on. Back your play, Lake. Always a pleasure, brother. Be well, man. Have a safe and happy holiday. I would say good luck on Sunday, but I just can't do that. But I'm sure we'll talk come playoff time, pal. I appreciate you.
All right, good seeing you, bro. I love you, bro.
Right back at you, brother. Thank you.
All right, take care now.
You too. Bye bye.